Hey internet, Ark speaking. It's only a few days in, but Mario Kart World has a lot of tech and strategy. In this video, I want to cover some of the most important ones. At the end of each one, I will also be giving a rating on how difficult each technique is. So without any more further ado, let's get started. For the very first technique, Nintendo calls it a charge jump, but if you ever drop by my streams, you'll often hear me refer to this as turtling. Turtling is when you hold down the drift button without holding a direction, and the character squats down and charges not only a mini turbo, but the ability to jump. Granted, this is a Nintendo intended mechanic, but it is a core stepping stone for other more advanced mechanics in the game. I'm gonna rate this a 1 out of 10, and for usability, I'm gonna rate this a 10 out of 10. You should know how to do this. For the second trick, this is a technique called corner cutting. Corner cutting is often used when you're driving around a long sweeping corner that on the inside has no barrier. It's just a clean drop off. In a lot of these cases, you could actually drive off for a split second trick and then wiggle your way back onto the track. Examples for tracks that use this is Mario Circuit, and it's often found in other longer, more linear tracks. Think Boo Cinema or Rainbow Road. For difficulty, I'm gonna put this at a 5 out of 10. It's not that hard to do, but it's impossible to be consistent at. And for application, I'm going to put this at a 6 out of 10. Use this technique a decent amount. Next, we have the jammed mini turbo. When you drift and charge a mini turbo and release it right as soon as you connect with a ground rail, the mini turbo is still capped. This is a very easy trick to do. As a matter of fact, I would consider this another 1 out of 10 difficulty. The problem is only one track, Mario Bros. Circuit, utilizes this technique as far as I'm aware. So for application, I'm going to leave this at a 1 out of 10. Next up, we have the pole bounce. Now, poles in this game are bizarre. You can trick off of them just like walls, but they function a little differently. They tend to push vehicles up and forward, and in some cases are better replacement to walls. Quick note, you could pole vault not only on solid poles, but poles that are considered breakable objects. For examples of tracks that utilize pole bouncing, DK Pass, Question Block Ruin, Crown City, the list goes on and on. Difficulty, 2 out of 10. Application, 8 out of 10. For the next technique, this one's a bit of an odd one. It is called Tumble. It is what happens when a character tries to latch on to either a grind rail or a wall, but fails to latch on correctly. What happens is the character goes into a sort of free fall. The only application I could think of off the top of my head is on Whistle Stop Summit, where by intentionally forcing your character to go into a sideward tumble, you clear a corner much faster than you otherwise would. Application for this is a 1 out of 10. You do it on one track. 3 out of 10 for difficulty. Rolling is when you are on a rail and you either roll into the corner or out of it to get onto another rail. This technique takes very little skill. It is almost 100% timing. Generally speaking though, when a rail is spiraling inward, you want to roll into the rail. And sometimes you need to jump really great distances. So when a rail is bending outward, you can jump way farther than you normally could. There are some really advanced rail movement in the game, which I won't get into this video. That's for a separate video. For application, this is a 10 out of 10. I could be wrong, but I cannot think of a single track that doesn't use some form of this technique. And as for difficulty, it varies depending on the track, but even the hardest jumps are no more than a 4 out of 10. Next up, we have a very difficult technique called curbing. Currently, there is not a single track in the game that uses this technique. I wanted to add something just to give you guys an idea of difficulty and scale compared to all of the other techniques. Curbing should be pretty self-explanatory. I'm just gonna leave this here. Difficulty 10 out of 10, application 0 out of 10, as of right now. Next up, we have glider bumping. For some odd reason, when you come off of a glider and hold back, which points your nose into the air, you actually gain a little bit more speed than you otherwise would have. I don't know that much about glider physics because, Mario Kart Wii player, but I do know that this is something that is very important and it's fairly easy to do. So whenever you come off of a trick, make sure you hold back on the control stick. Difficulty, 1 out of 10. Application, probably a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have the super bounce. It's the exact same technique from Mario Kart 8. Basically, you are going to drift off a track onto something bouncy like a springboard on DK Spaceport or a cloud on Question Block Ruins. This gives you a little bit more speed than just driving off and tricking normally. Again, difficulty is you're just drifting. It's a 1 out of 10. And for application, I would consider this a 4 out of 10. Most tracks don't have a springboard, so it's hard to justify it beyond that. For the last of the basic mechanical techniques we have for this video, and there's probably going to be more in the future, but for now, we have bobbing. Bobbing is what I like to call when a character goes into the water and then comes out and you could get a trick from that. The reason why I put this as a separate technique more than just the Nintendo intended mechanics is you can get on really nutty areas using the bobbing technique. The most straightforward example of this one is going to be the Oasis map, where you use bobbing to get onto a rail that you otherwise would not be able to. And being able to get that really good timing with a deep bob to get you up on the rail is very important. Bobbing is also just generally useful for movement in water. So for bobbing, I'm going to put a difficulty of 3 out of 10. The timing can be a little annoying. And for application, I would say a 7 out of 10. Every water track, you need to know how to bob. Alright, so those are most of what I would consider the very rudimentary mechanics and techniques in this game. I didn't talk about wall mechanics because in order to understand wall mechanics, you need to know some of the shortcuts as well. So I'll be saving that for another video. Having said that, if you want me to make a tutorial on a specific shortcut, because there's a lot of them in this game, please be sure to let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe if this video helped you, and thanks for watching. I've been live streaming all my Mario Kart World content, so if you have questions that you want to ask me directly, be sure to catch me when I'm live. Thanks for watching.